What's shaking, everybody? Ross Mandell here with a super special treat for you guys today. I am super stoked. Why? Why is that? Why am I so excited? I'm more excited than normal. You know, when I was a young lad, I played football in the neighborhood. I was real good. All my friends, we all went out for the high school team. Myself and one other guy, we the only guys that got picked for the team. I was the one guy in the neighborhood that got to play high school team. I was fast. I played running back. I played inside linebacker. I was 5'9", 165 pounds in high school. You could get away with that a little bit. And then, of course, more was revealed as you move up the ladder. Very, very few guys get to go all the way to the NFL. And then a lot of guys, you know, maybe they get to the NFL, they play 1 year, 2 years, they get injured, whatever happens. Next thing you know, they spend the rest of their lives watching the NFL on TV, wondering what they're going to do with themselves. Well, in this particular case, we got a very special guy to introduce you guys to today. You probably heard of him. You probably know him. But if you don't, I'm proud to say we have Marques Ogden, a former NFL player, and now a coach, a mentor, a business guy. I mean, he's just a keynote speaker, 6'6", 305. And I'm glad that this is remote, or I would have had to slap him around. Marques, what's shaking, baby? How are you?
I'm doing well, Ross. How you doing today, my friend?
I feel really stoked because I get to talk to you, and this is a few days before the biggest football game of the year. And I know you're going to be able to give us tremendous amounts of insight that all of us sort of Sunday afternoon coaches sitting at home, all our brilliant, observations. A guy like you, well, you've been on the inside of this game for a long time, yeah?
Absolutely, I have. 6 years in the NFL. My brother Jonathan Ogden was drafted by the Ravens, number 4 overall in 1996. So I got to be around him, as a 15-year-old at Ravens, like where they had like Vinny Testaverde, Ernest Biner, to a young Ray Lewis. I mean, they had some phenomenal guys on that football team.
Arthur Jones, Big
That's
Ray
right.
Lewis. Yep,
That's right.
Really a great team. So let's start. I want to really get into your life because I'm fascinated with this particular sport. You know, the funny thing is, people say that you made a leap from playing sports in the NFL and then going into business, but people don't understand the NFL is a business, right? You're not playing for free. It's not, you're not choosing sides, flipping to see which side you'd be on. It's a big fucking business, bro. And, I've lived through this evolution, in the 60s, guys would get, Joe Namath got the biggest contract, as any football player. I think 1966, they gave him $400,000 to play quarterback for the New York Jets out of University of Alabama. But tell us, Marques, where'd you grow up? Where you from?
I grew up in Washington, D.C.
Oh, boy. Those are tough guys, boy. I just did a podcast about the toughest guys in the federal prison system. And it's the D.C. guys.
Oh, yeah. DC's hard knock, man.
Yeah. And, a guy gave me great insight, a real criminal. He said, D.C. is where the Capitol is, the Senate, the White House. And if you're one of these guys that's willing to commit crime in that arena, you got to be a little bit, you taking one too many slaps to the head, possibly.
Oh, yeah. Now, you have to be a little bit different in that regard, for sure.
And so they don't have, Washington, D.C. is not a state. So they don't have their own state prison system. So the bad dudes on the street to get in trouble, there's no state prison. They send them into the feds. And I spend time with those guys. And I have a good friend, big boy, not like you, but a big guy. And they used to call him D.C. And because that's where he was from. And he got mad respect. We became really good friends. But, he came down from the penitentiary. I met him eventually at a camp. He was down for DC. What's up, baby? I'm going to give you a shout out. So Marques, you grew up in a nice family. What kind of family did you grow up in? I mean,
yeah, I grew up in a nice family, man. My parents were together until I was 8 years old, and our parents divorced, and our mom actually left us, and our dad stepped up and raised both Jonathan and myself as a single parent from that time going forward. So we grew up in a very loving home with a great father, and we were very, very close to our maternal grandparents, my mom's mom and dad. They lived also in Washington, D.C. They were very big in our lives, and I was very, very close to my grandparents and my dad growing up.
Okay, so you had a great family influence, and that's really important. Now you and your brother are pretty big guys, right? Your brother's as big as you, maybe bigger.
He's 6'9".
Is that all?
That's all.
So you guys are playing basketball, you're playing football. You guys are the studs in the neighborhood, I'm sure. But so your dad wasn't 5'3".
6'4".
Okay, and your mom was a tall lady. I mean,
6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot.
So you got these genetics, this mad DNA. But we all know that the most talented people are not the people that succeed the most. There's so much that goes into the discipline, the training, and the motivation, and all the different things that come to play. And God's will. You can get injured, you can get caught up in some sort of an issue in the neighborhood, accident, guys. A million things happen that could disrupt or derail your ascension from playing, let's say, neighborhood ball, which I'm sure you did, right? You guys played every sport.
Of course, yep. We did basketball, did football, Jonathan threw the shot put. I did some wrestling, so we were very active in sports for sure.
And with an older brother like Jonathan, nobody's picking on you, right?
No.
You became a man on your own. But yeah, so that's really cool. And probably everybody knew you guys were slated for some big things, at least in the sports arena, correct?
Yeah, of course. I mean, because Jonathan was 6'9" in the 8th grade, so we were massive people. So people thought, as long as we kept our head on straight, that sports was going to be a big part of our lives.
How did your dad feed you guys? I mean, what the fuck?
So he was probably spending, Ross, about $200 per week in the 1980s for groceries.
I can't even imagine. Today, that gives you like 2 dozen eggs and a couple of milk.
And a piece of bread, yeah.
It's really crazy. I went to Whole Foods the other day, $85. I got 1 bag.
Oh, my God.
I left with 1 bag. I couldn't believe it. So let me say, so you're in Washington, D.C. Your brother's clearly, you're a stud by this point, but he's how many years older than you?
He's 6.5.
So you
are to high school,
right?
So he's
a legend.
Junior year of high school was his. He got drafted my junior year of high school.
Right. So he's a legend by this time. So you got to live up to that. It's a little tough, but you're a big boy yourself. I see you. You're good looking. You're intelligent. So you came from a decent family. And I also wrestled, and that gives you a lot of, I think, to me, self-esteem. I got from wrestling, because one thing about football that disturbed me is I took it serious. To me, life is a game, but I play to win. Everything's a game. It's a game of life, but I take my game seriously, right? And in football, some of the guys, young guys, they would be drinking, smoking, snorting, doing all kinds of shit the night before, and they were hungover, and they would laugh about it, whatever, and it would disturb me. So I moved to wrestling, where it was me against one other man, but it was me, and I chose the state that I was going to be in when the match started. So I like to compete, and I got a lot of steam out of that because my teammate wasn't laying down on me, so to speak, if you know what I'm saying.
Of course.
And in business, I also found a lot of comfort in being the competitor, being me against, let's say, the client or the problem. Business is a lot of problem solving. So let's get back to you. So now you grew up in Washington. One thing that nobody has talked to me, I have a team that gives me all kinds of good information on you. But, being a guy my whole life, I'm so thrilled to have you here. Where'd you go to college?
Went to Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Now, that's like one of those black universities, correct?
It's an HBCU. That's correct. Yep.
I just saw a whole special on it on Netflix, believe it or not. You won't believe it.
I saw the same thing. Yeah, there's a lot of, HBCU history, and my dad also went to Howard as well.
People don't know. People in this country don't know just how incredible that whole movement was from the beginning and the difficulties. And I actually, last night on Shark Tank, believe it or not, there was a woman who supplies all this clothing to all the black universities. She's created these clothing lines. She's an incredible woman. And she got a deal from Mark Cuban last night. I was just really was blown away.
That's
And she
awesome.
does this whole thing by herself. I mean, she's an amazing person. So now you go to Howard University, and I mean, I guess you could have played any position you wanted, right? I mean, you're 6'6", 305 today. You're probably fast as a rabbit, and for a big boy. So tell me about the college years.
College was great. I got to college. I redshirted my first year because I got to college at 17. I ended up starting as a redshirt freshman at right tackle. So I played right tackle my redshirt freshman year, played right tackle my redshirt sophomore year, played left tackle my redshirt junior year.
Wow.
Then I went back to right tackle for my last year, but unfortunately, one of my friends who was our starting center ended up blowing out his knee. You talked about that stuff earlier. Blew his knee out, and nobody could snap the football. And I had never snapped the football either. But because of my experience at being the leader on the offensive line, I got moved into center the last 6 games of my senior year, which was
Oh my!
great. Once I kind of got adjusted, it was fantastic. And from there, went to a bowl game, went to the Hula Bowl in Maui. I actually had a chance to play under Mac Brown, who was just now moved on from Carolina, who was
Yep.
the coach there for a number of years.
Yep.
And then I also got to play under Jack Harbaugh, the father of Jim and John Harbaugh.
Unbelievable.
He was my O-line coach in the Hula Bowl. And then from there, that's when I got drafted to the National Football League to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
At what position?
At offensive tackle.
Tackle, not center.
Nope, tackle. I was a tackle.
So you and your brother, they had you, big guys like you, they've had you guys in the protector role, right, on the line, O-line. I feel like that's the roughest position in the whole game.
Oh, it's brutal.
It's brutal, and you don't get the accolades. They talk about Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he's great, but, those guys, if you don't have time, if you don't have somebody giving you moments, you're at zero. You're a loser. The difference between Hall of Fame, first ballot, and a first round cut is the offensive line, in my opinion.
We're talking about this. Absolutely. I mean, look at all these guys you talk about, like unfortunate guys like Daniel Jones or other guys that were first round draft choices, that just didn't pan out because they got to teams that had no offensive line stability. And once that happens, you're a sitting duck in the backfield.
Correct. You're as good as your offensive line. I really believe that. I mean, I played, even at a low level, it was the same thing. If you had the horses up front, pretty much everybody could be a stud.
Correct.
I mean, that's what we're talking about off camera. The Philadelphia Eagles, they got a big boy, they got big line, and this Barkley's an animal himself. So he's going to break one or two. There's a good shot, but the Chiefs know how to win. We're going to get to that. So Howard University, I mean, you've never probably had an issue with women. I mean.
No, I would say no. I did not have a problem with women.
I mean, you're like a big boy. You're good looking. You got a nice smile. You got a pedigree, like a sports pedigree, even before you ever played sports. Because you're John's brother, and so I mean, how did you fight off the women on your way up?
It's interesting, in the NFL. It was really hard because they know you make money. They know what's going on. They know all the things about you.
Oh, yeah.
But luckily for me, I had my father who was very much involved. And then my brother who was in the league for 6 years before I got there could help me to navigate some of that. And then what I had to learn, right, Ross, who likes me for me and who likes me for what I'm doing as a career. And so once I learned that, it got a lot easier to kind of navigate those seas of people you're not really sure about. But once I figured that out, it got a lot easier. And I have to say, right around going to my second year, and I would talk to some other teammates that I know would struggle with some things with women, things like that, would get their opinion. They kind of poured into me their perspective, and learning how to listen around that, right, Ross, really helped me to kind of keep this course and not fall off the wagon when it came to women in that regard.
Very difficult as a stockbroker in New York, making, all kinds of crazy money. I also had those same kind of issues, which is why I bring it up to you.
Oh, I agree.
And with you, 6'6", I mean, good looking, money in your pockets, nice clothes, nice car, nice crib. I mean, too bad they didn't have NIL those days.
Oh my God, would have been so. Oh my God, I'd have made so much money in NIL, like coming out of college. That would have been
How
so
about how about
awesome.
in high school they would have been sending you
Oh
money?
yeah, of
You
course,
guys
yeah.
6'6", 6'9", big boys like I mean, forget
Oh
about it.
yeah, they would love to put money in your pocket. 50 grand here, 100 grand there. I mean, and attach their brand to your name without
Correct.
a doubt.
Correct. It's a shame, because you think about, let's say, Howard. Nothing against Howard, all the university, the NCAA was like the mafia for a lot of years. They're using guys like you. You're playing like crazy. Not everybody was fortunate to go to the NFL and get paid and all that. And the
Correct.
stadiums are getting filled, and everybody's getting paid, and universities and all these guys with the NCAA millions and millions and millions TV rights selling out the bowls, Cotton Bowl, Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl. The athletes weren't allowed to get $1. Everybody got something. I know that. I live in the real world, but God forbid you got caught or something happened. Right, the
Oh,
craziest thing in the world.
you were done. You got
And,
caught. You
and
were done.
meanwhile, these guys are living in $10 million houses, driving Rolls Royces, and God forbid your mama had a Cadillac. They're gonna start a major federal investigation. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's really freaking crazy how far the game has come. I have a dear friend who I helped mentor, and he's one of the biggest sports agents today in the state of Florida. First round manager, Malky Cowell. Malky, shout out. And he represents about 24 NFL players now, like Jonathan Taylor, to give you an idea. There's some
Sure.
real guys.
Yeah.
This NIL thing is a miracle. It's about friggin' time.
Yep. Guys
Talk
are getting
about talk
paid
about
now.
talk about equity, right? They
Amen.
basically it's like a form of slavery. You had all your athletes. It was the last bastion of slavery, maybe. Getting you guys to perform like animals, athletes,
Mhm.
and then you're lining their pockets, but
Mhm.
they're trying to make sure the integrity of the game. What kind of bullshit that the things that the way they skated around you getting paid as an athlete. I mean,
Mhm.
I was a kid listening to the TV, and when they would talk about these kind of things, and I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
It doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense. So,
Mhm.
all right. So now you go to the NFL.
Mhm.
When were you picked? What round?
Sixth round.
Okay, sixth round,
Mhm.
and you go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was what year was that? Do you remember offhand?
Oh yeah, 2003.
That were you young? It was a young
20 I was 20
enterprise.
I was 22 years old, and my rookie head coach was Jack Del Rio, former middle linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings out of USC.
I'm so old. I remember Jack Del Rio when he played in college.
Oh yeah. Jack was a fantastic coach.
Yeah,
He was a true player's coach all the way.
I think he's still around.
He is. He actually just got a job coaching as a head coach in Paris, France, with the new football league in Europe. He just got that job like about a month ago.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that's good for him because
Mm-hmm.
he was a real coach,
Oh,
players
I love
coach.
Jack. Jack was great.
So now, what was it like? Coming out of college, not paid. Maybe here and there, but maybe they gave you a gift card to Applebee's or some shit. But you know what I'm saying. You get to the NFL and you sign a contract. I guess the rookie contract was very light in those days,
Oh,
but
oh yeah. I mean, it's multi-million-dollar contract as a rookie, and so a 3-year deal, and it was great. I finally was able to buy a car and get an apartment and live off of the game and play the game and get paid for it. And I really enjoyed my teammates. I had some fantastic teammates that I played with, and they guys on the defensive side of the ball made me even better. Guys like John Henderson, 6'7", 350. Guys like Marcus Stroud, 6'6", 315. To
crazy.
guys like, matter of fact, Hugh Douglas was there in my time. Played with Fred Taylor. Played
Wow.
against all kinds of sensational athletes for many years. So the Jaguars was great because it taught me how to be a professional and how to do life after the NFL. So when I retired, I had some sort of sense of how to actually live my life. And playing as a rookie, having to do all those things for myself, cook for myself, take care of myself, all that stuff, it carried over into my life after the game.
Wow. I mean, it's just exciting stuff, bro, to me. As a man, I'm still a kid. I'm going to watch that Super Bowl, and, I watch all the playoff games, and I watch as many games as I can during the season. And, I'm just still fascinated by it. It's glorified in my head. You know what I mean? To
Of
me,
course.
you guys were exalted. You guys were the gladiators, coming up. I mean, if they didn't have football, if they put you in the military, you guys would have been, the alpha team. I mean, you guys were gifted physically, and but you have the discipline to be coached. You're mentally fit enough for the rigors. There's a lot of sports, just like business. It's a mental game. You beat yourself up mentally. You question yourself. You have to deal with doubts. You have to deal with objections. You have to deal with rejection. You have to deal with failure. And sports is exactly that. I mean, you can't be perfect on every play. And I'll never forget that, when I started in high school, they said to me, every play is designed to get a touchdown. And every play is designed to stop the offense dead in its tracks. And, we all know that doesn't work out like that.
No, no, absolutely not.
And like Mike Tyson said, as soon as you get punched in the face, all the plans go out the window.
Oh yeah, of course.
But that's where all the training, all the practice, all the discipline, over and, I like to say in business, repetition. And I always use sports analogies. Any man, I don't care, 6'6", 305, if you never did a squat, you get under that barbell squat rack, it's the most uncomfortable, weirdest position to be in, to have a big Olympic bar draped across your shoulder girdle behind your neck, and then having to squat down and break parallel or make parallel and then come up. It doesn't matter. The biggest, strongest guys, it's just uncomfortable. It's a weird movement. And yet with repetition, your body finds a way to just do it. Like I can go to a squat rack, even though I'm old and I'm unfit. My body immediately knows that neural pathway, that motion. So you are a disciplined guy in an odd way, right? You are used to getting up, taking care of business, whatever it is, whether it's the business of sports, protecting the quarterback, run blocking, pass blocking, whatever. At one point, snapping the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your business of today, which we want to get into, because I'm fascinated to hear your take on it, because a lot of athletes that I've met in my life struggle with their identity. I mean, I don't want to give you any names because I don't want to break confidence, but some of the biggest stars in the history of the NFL I've met and spoken to. And they're like a little lost and confused because they were stars in the neighborhood as kids. They were stars in school. They played in the big games, right? They went to college. They were on TV. They were sought after. You know what I'm saying? They played in the NFL. I met guys who won Super Bowls, and they're lost today. They struggle. I've coached some guys like that, and, mentored privately. You struggle to find your identity. Tell us about who you are today. We're going to jump around a little bit. Who are you today? Who is Marques Ogden?
So, Ross, today I am a national, international keynote speaker, business coach, corporate consultant, podcast host, best-selling author, and I'm a business owner. And I tell everybody, if you're struggling trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, go back to branding. And what I mean by branding is, what do you enjoy, right? So I had a construction company that failed miserably because I never enjoyed it. I made a lot of money, right, Ross? I made money here, I made money there, but I hated every waking day of it, every single day. And today, with the speaking and the coaching and the consulting, going on podcasts, having people on my podcast, I enjoy it. It took me 2.5 years to get my first paid job, right, Ross? 2.5 years. And now here we are. What's this now? 7, almost 8 years later, we have had 75 Fortune 500 clients, not including businesses that aren't Fortune 500 or education or healthcare or sports. I've done work with the Buffalo Bills for years of my career. And so, but I tell everybody I'm where I am today and I love it, but it took me a number of years to figure out what I really enjoyed. And once I figured that out, right, Ross, I was able to build off of that. So if you're struggling, go back to the beginning, write down 3 to 5 things that you love to do, and then take one off, and then finally find the one that you feel you love the most that will also allow you to bring revenue for yourself. Because when I started speaking, right, Ross, I didn't make any money. I got no page. I didn't when I got paid. I got 1,000 here. I mean, it was nice, but I couldn't live off of that.
No.
But I loved it enough that it became 1,000. It became $2,500 job. Then it became 5. It became 10. It became 25. And so now here we are with our podcast, with our coaching. Right, all these things make us who we are today. So if you're listening to this awesome podcast, if you're struggling, go back to the beginning and start with branding, what you want to be known for, and build from there.
I love it. Firstly, you're a great speaker, and I want you to know I'm not moved to say that. I'll never lie. I have no reason. I have no reason to lie to you.
I know that,
but I will just not touch on a certain thing. But I'm proud to have you go into a narrative like that. It was well said, well constructed, using my name, your tone, the volume, the way you structure your sentences. You're practiced. You're a terrific, sensational speaker. And instead of some irreverent, advice that you gave us action items. You gave us specific things that we can do. Make a list. I'm a big list maker. Cross it off. Branding. What do you want to do? Your honesty regarding your construction business. Now, I'm not here to criticize. I'm just saying I was just taken by your narrative there. And I can imagine you on a stage in front of thousands of people. I don't know how anybody could afford you. I mean, that's you. I hope you're not charging by the pound. Because damn, boy, that would be nuts, right? That would be crazy. You should say that.
That'd be awesome.
We charge $1,000 a pound. I love it. And I imagine, I'm going through a little bit of that myself right now. I'm transitioning. I'm evolving. I'm rebranding myself, and I think that we all have to do that. I really think that as you go through your life, you're constantly going through periods of time where you're going through your life, you're living your life, and then you decide you want to reinvent yourself. And I have a guy right now that's sitting here advising me. He's my editor. He's my podcast chief, John DeZuro. And all his life he did he was in business for editing. He was in that business. He was a world famous editor. He's a sound genius. And now he's reinventing himself as a podcast man. And, it's challenging. It's at first you're learning a lot of new stuff. But like you said, after 2.5 years, you found your groove, right? You hit it. You started making money. So what's the name of your company today?
It's called Ogden Ventures, LLC.
How'd you come up with that? I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, I kind of took my last name and said, "Oh, V for venture. I like that." And I just put LLC behind, and there we go.
OV LLC. I love it. And where are you physically located?
I'm in Fuquay Varina, North Carolina. I'm about half hour outside of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. I have a lot of good friends in North Carolina right now. Billy, what's shaking, baby? My friend Bill Dowd, he's over there. I want to say hello. If you had to, it's a tough question. If you had to talk about some of the most important lessons in this transition from being like a professional athlete, which again, like I said, that's a business. So you had to learn the business of football. You played football for fun. You played football for sport, even in college, right? Then all of a sudden you're playing football. It's the same game, but now you've got a lawyer, right? You got an agent, right? Your dad's sitting you down. We don't want you to blow all your money. You're going to set aside certain amounts of money. After a certain amount of time, you qualify for the pension, et cetera, and so forth. Right? All of a sudden, you get hit with, all the different aspects of being a professional, being paid to play sport. And then you make the jump ultimately, and we're going to go back though and cover some ground. You go into a new business. So you reinvent yourself. And you're very candid about this construction business. You make money, but it's not what you want to do. I mean, I don't spend 5 minutes doing something I don't want my whole life. I'm like a giant walking id. You know what I mean? I like to do what I like to do, and that's how I live my life, good, bad, or ugly. But what are some of the biggest challenges you faced, making this transition?
So some of the biggest challenges I faced was going to be really me and my own ego. So when I got into construction, I built a successful business, but I ended up losing everything, right, Ross, because of my ego, my bravado. And in reality, the hardest thing I had to go through was being humbled. And I got humbled when I had my rock bottom spoiled milk moment where somebody's trash and rotten meat and nasty garbage got all over me. And that was my wake up call. And
Wow.
so in reality, I was my worst enemy. I was the one that was constantly sabotaging myself, and I was the one constantly always thinking I was better than what I was. And one of my favorite things I've watched lately, right, Ross? I watched a great documentary on Alexander the Great, and Alexander the Great he was the king of Macedonia, which was a small province compared to Persia.
Yep.
Persia had almost 150 million people. Half the world's population was in Persia at that time in the ancient world. And Darius III was their king. But unfortunately for Darius, because of his ego and because of his bravado and because of the way Persia was so big, so powerful, so rich, so strong, he basically just looked at Alexander as like a little peon, said, you can't do anything to me. He overlooked him.
Yep.
His ego got in the way. And as a result of that, he ended up losing not only his kingdom, but his life and his wife, his family. Like everything was conquered by Alexander the Great because Alexander the Great actually had a great teacher in Aristotle who taught him something that Darius knew nothing about, how to inspire the masses.
I love it.
So to answer your question specifically, my ego and my egotistical behavior was my biggest enemy from transitioning from NFL to business owner to failed business owner to where I'm at now. I had to go through so much evolution of getting out of my own way. And if you listen to this podcast, if your ego is getting bigger than the good part of your soul, you're screwed.
I've struggled with that myself throughout the course of my life. Just yesterday in this chair, I heard your ego is not your amigo.
I love it.
I love it. That's why I'm repeating it, because your ego is not your amigo. And, it's very, very tough. It's very easy to say, but to put in practice, you're a big stud from the neighborhood, college, pro ball, women, bright lights, fancy cars, fancy clothes, the newspapers all over you, the news, the team, the coach. And all of a sudden, you're making that transition and you're not getting that same reception in the business world. I mean, there's certain people that would know who you are, but most people in the business world don't give a shit because now it's not your sports you're playing. You know what I mean?
It's not my arena.
You're not blocking. You're in a different arena. And I get this a lot, and it's really great. Now, you made a reference, and it's something I was gonna get to, but you lost everything. You said I hit bottom. Tell us about that.
So with my construction company going to about over $20 million a year, that year, which was 2011, 2012, I just really lost focus on business, on marketing, on sales. I lost focus on how to treat my people. I really lacked vision, and I honestly tell people all the time, I hit a goal, I achieved it, and I stopped. And I tell clients in business, set a goal, achieve a goal, set a new goal.
I love
And
it.
I didn't do that in my construction company. I got very complacent, right? Complacency is the beginning of disaster.
It's
And
death.
I ended up literally, right, Ross, thinking I knew everything. I was better than everybody. I was this, I was that, I was this, I was that. And it was just a matter of time. And what happened is, as the culture, which is an emotion block of business, started to break down because the logical block of business that was feeding that block, which is people, started to leave me, it was just a matter of time. And when my best person, my senior estimator, told me we're going to go out of business, I didn't believe him. That following Monday, he comes in, he gives me his resignation papers.
Wow.
2 weeks after that, everybody starts leaving the organization. Basically, 3 months, Ross, from when he left the organization, we went bankrupt. And not
Wow.
just like I was talking to a client today, not a chapter 11 or chapter 13, not a reorganization, chapter 7.
Oh boy.
Everything I owned was either repossessed, foreclosed on, taken away from me at that time.
Oh, so personally,
Oh
not just
yeah.
professionally.
Every home foreclosed on. Both cars repossessed in the same day. Moved to Raleigh, $400 to my name. Zero credit score, no credit cards, nothing. Like literally $400. That's it. And we had a place, and we were literally almost 2 weeks away from being homeless until the NFL, which just formed that year, the Gene Upshaw Trust Fund, stepped in to help me not go homeless. And I'll always repay the
Wow.
NFL as a speaker, as a contributor, because without them and that program in 2013, I go homeless.
That's such a a great, what a blessing. What a clip that's going to be. You know what? The NFL should pay attention to this, and they should be proud finally, because I know for years they were not helping a lot of their athletes. And there's all kinds of I don't want to get into this whole thing about what, there's stuff in the brain
Yeah,
and and
TBI and all that stuff. Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff that they walk away from. But this is a wonderful thing to hear. And Gene Upshaw was, talk about a great player,
Oh, great player, great man.
a
He
great
was one
man.
of our most well-respected
Yep.
executive directors of our union.
I used to watch him speak, and I really get into that kind of thing. So you was something happening in your personal life during this time?
Yep, I was engaged. I ended up getting married. And what I realized is at that time, I was constantly looking for someone to come and save me. And the NFL did that, which was amazing.
Yep.
And then when I realized to get my life back on track, I had to go from victim to victor. That's when things started to happen. But I was going through a lot of hardship at that time, relationship struggles and issues. I was fired from 2 jobs in the same week around that time.
Wow.
I had very little success with friendships, and I was drinking a lot. I was excessive beer, excessive anything cheap. I couldn't afford anything of any value, so I was really living very poor health wise. I wasn't taking care of myself. I would go work out, but I would just ruin it by just eating terrible constantly. And so basically, I was going through a lot of life challenges at that time, Ross. Very difficult for me to get through. I got through it, but it was very challenging at that time.
Well, I don't know if you know my story, because we really just met today, right? This is our first time really interacting and speaking and all that. I've checked you out, of course, but my story is about I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic, and I've been sober over 30 years, and I found AA at my bottom and all these different things. And I also was, literally minutes from being homeless, and somehow God saved me, which is almost like the NFL.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God. Because this thing, right, Ross? That the year I went bankrupt was the first year of that
How
program
crazy.
starting.
Yep. Now let me ask you a question. Do you have any children?
I do. I have a 21-year-old stepdaughter and I have a 10-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow. Okay. So they were around for this. They
My
witnessed this.
so my 21-year-old, yes. My 10-year-old, she witnessed. She was very, very young.
Right. Baby. A baby.
Right, but Ava, who is now a junior at NYU, got a full scholarship this year for nursing. She was very much aware of what was going on, and she saw a lot of the struggles at that time. Yes.
Now, when you were rolling, when your construction company was on its way to hitting its goal, when you had the 20 million in sales, like all that stuff, right? Before let's say the turn, what were you drinking and taking drugs at that time, running around, all that kind of stuff?
I wasn't taking drugs, but was I drinking and partying and all that? Yes, I was. Partying, gambling, going out, nightlife, women, all that. Yes, I was.
Now, gambling, casino gambling or
Oh
sports?
yeah, casino gambling, gambling at, under the table poker, houses or meetups all around Baltimore City, Maryland. I was just really living in that regard.
Yeah, I know I'm a graduate of the University of Maryland. And I endowed the school, in fact, and there's scholarships in my name still.
Nice.
Every year, three, people that are less fortunate than I am get a free ride to the business school under the Leaders for Tomorrow program. It's the Ross Mandell scholarships.
That's
And
awesome.
I gave him $500,000 back in 2004,
Nice.
and we annuitized it, so it'll last forever as long as the university is in business. And I'm humbled by that, and I'm humbled by your story. And I meet a big guy who's you probably didn't know a downturn. You were a stud in the neighborhood. From your brother's this star, you're this rising star, in your own right. And you go to college, you're a redshirt, you're starting as a redshirt freshman, whatever it is for, big shit at Howard, drafted by the NFL. I think about how few people actually get drafted.
Right.
I love they talk about, certain guys like Tom Brady who got drafted at the end of the draft, and what's his name? The kid from the San Francisco 49ers, who's the last draft? Brock Purdy, who's making less money than my daughter. And he's playing at Super Bowls and he's winning, NFC championship games and all that. And the guy's sitting on the bench and making millions, and he's starting, this kid. I mean, it just goes to show you some of the inequities around. But so your life is really been like a rising star.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you were in the NFL, I know you were traded. You played in a bunch of different places. What was that like? Because your brother,
was great, man.
But your brother, he was with like one squad.
Yeah, going to different squads was really great because I got a chance to play with a lot of guys that I played against, and that was really nice. And going to different cities and
Right.
different coaches, different philosophies. So, playing in Baltimore with my brother was awesome. Buffalo under Mike Malarkey, Dick Charon had a different style. Like they were a lot more hard-nosed, smash mouth. We were in pass until week 16. Got to play with Jeff Fisher in Tennessee with my
Wow.
O-line coach, Mike Munchak, who's a Hall of Famer himself as a guard.
Yep.
So, being around like some of the greats of the game, I got to play with guys like Kevin Mawai, Hall of Famer, Ed Reed, Hall of Famer, my brother, Ray Lewis, Hall of Famers, guys like Eric Moles, London Fletcher. So, being around, guys like Fred Taylor, all these great players brought something to the game different. And I really enjoyed learning from all of them. And it really helped me become the best version of myself. And it's helped me out greatly too, Ross, in my career now as a speaker, how to connect with
I
people,
love it.
how to really engage people, how to read rooms. I travel a lot for work. So I'm a little bit more up on how to travel and be a little bit more smart, like where to go, where not to go. So it was really great for my life overall.
Experience in different cities. That's what I love when I traveled. I was a salesman before I went to Wall Street. 100 years ago, but I used to go to a different city every week, and sometimes in the same week, 2, 3 cities. But I made friends in different cities, and I got to actually go out in different cities, and I saw the differences in people. I grew up in New York, Long Island, 45 minutes from New York City. Spent all my life in New York City. As soon as I got out of college, boom, I'm in New York City. It's very fast paced. It's a certain kind of way. Talk about that's like a smash mouth, hard nosed place to, like the Buffalo style you just described. And then the rest of the country is very different. You go down south, you got a different type of. Like I used to go down to North Carolina, to Charlotte. I used to go to different places, Charleston in South Carolina. I used to go to Atlanta. The Southern boys, the Southern women, very different. The way you're received and the way they express themselves, and you learn a little bit. And then out west in the Midwest, and I had a chance to taste the flavor of our country. And we really are an enormous nation, a melting pot of all different races, colors, creeds, and styles. There's so many different ways that people are, the same people, same guy, same woman, same age, express themselves and the way they want to be expressed or received. And I feel that when you travel, you got traded, so you're doing business for different teams around the country. And, you could look at it from an optimistic point of view, or you could be one of these, negative people. Oh, what a hassle. I had to get a new place. I had to do this.
It was always positive. Getting a new place was not hard. Finding, getting your car shipped there wasn't difficult.
Correct.
And just, being around new great guys was getting into, I was a lineman, so we always stuck together, and I was always good with people. And the running backs, all those guys loved us. So it was very easy to make new friends in new cities.
Yeah, no, I don't expect you ever had a problem. You were never bullied or picked on. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
No.
All right, so this is really cool. So you hit bottom. It was pretty severe from the way you describe it. I got to tell you, you weren't playing. You were straight to chapter 7, and you've obviously come back and you built a serious life, a serious business, something that you can really be proud of. This is you're a Hall of Famer now. You're on track to be a first round Hall of Famer, first ballot. And one thing that came up when we did research on you and your story, and it comes up on my story, the same word, which made me really impressed by getting a chance to meet you. One reason I'm so psyched: resilience. You speak about resilience. And people look at you as a resilient guy. People that sit back and they're critical thinkers, and they judge. I'm not that kind of guy. But obviously, if you're here today after what you shared, the reason I asked you if you have kids is because one of the biggest or toughest things for me when I hit bottom and had to go to federal prison was the pain of having my kids had to watch it, had to witness it. Like I could handle anything, but the woman I loved and my children had to witness this, what I will call utter failure, inability to win my innocence and stay out of prison. This overbearing government. Now you hit bottom. You lose your business, and now you're almost homeless. The trust comes. It helps you find a place. Tell us about that. I want to hear about this journey.
Yeah, so after I ended up filing bankruptcy, the trust helped me relocate to North Carolina and to the Raleigh area, to Cary, North Carolina. I ended up, working a job at Merrill Lynch to help me get a job. They
Really?
helped me
Merrill Lynch?
Yep, I
As,
worked there for a little bit. My degree's in finance, so I
okay.
worked there, and it didn't go well. And then I found another job, in construction. That didn't go well. And then, the NFL was just great in helping me to relocate, opportunity,
Wow.
how to move, how to figure out how to find a good place, how to make, adjustments, how to pivot, how to be innovative. And I'm very grateful because what they helped me to do was to get my life back when I was literally feeling like a down and out failure, a victim. And they saw enough in me to say, Marcy, we believe in you. Here's 4 months of your bills paid. Now you got to go out and take care of yourself because we believe in you. Now you have to believe in yourself like we believe in you. And once that happened, right, Ross, that's when things started to change for the better and moving forward in my life.
So essentially, similar to my story, when you asked for help, you found someone that was good, that was willing to help. And that was the NFL.
Correct.
And that was a really a pivotal moment in your life, essentially.
Absolutely. Without them, where I'm at now, I don't get to, because I needed them, and they were right there for me to get myself out of rock bottom to at least start to work my way back up.
You got to put a bottom in before you start to ascend again. I get that. Now, were you still drinking?
Yes, absolutely I was. And I didn't really control that until after I hit my rock bottom as a custodian. And then I realized to get my life back, I got to go from victim to victor. Once that happened in September 2013, that's when I started to get my life back on track.
Now, how old a guy are you now?
At that time?
Well, now, today.
44.
A young man, boy, could be my son. And at that time, you were
32.
So you're in your early 30s. Isn't that funny? I hit my bottom 32, 33 years old. Rock bottom.
Yep.
Checked myself into rehab.
Yep.
It was deal with the IRS to go to rehab. I said, fuck it, I'm going to rehab. The IRS will have to wait. That's how bad it got for me. I just couldn't even deal with it. So I just said, fuck it, I'm just going to go try and get well. That's a really interesting story. So 30 years old. And now you find yourself, going from job to job to job. You got a place to live thanks to the Gene Upshur Trust. We got to give them shout outs, bro. That's big props.
Oh yeah. All day, every day.
Big props. I mean, that's huge stuff. I didn't know any of that. And that's something that we should all know then, because the NFL gets a lot of times they get a bad rap. And I'm one to be critical, because they're making billions.
Oh yeah.
And you got to give back as a human being, as an organization, an association, a corporation, a business. You got to give back. I coach that, because if you don't give, God is watching. I'm just going to say it like that. The universe knows.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So, all right, let's talk about leadership right now. You consider yourself a leader, correct?
Yes.
How do you define leadership?
Leadership is not just doing what is right. Leadership is doing what you know is hard and right. It's about doing the things that others won't do, that they both know is hard and right. And you doing it and knowing you could possibly get judged, looked at funny, but you do it anyway for the betterment of your people, your organization, and for mankind as a whole.
I get that. I had a friend, he passed away, unfortunately, young guy too, younger than me. And he used to say to me, bro, we do what the other guys won't. He used to scream that out to me, bro, we do what the other guys won't do. That's how you become great. That's how you achieve greatness. Like we're going to all witness a great game. Who's going to win? We don't know. But you know what? It's going to be a great game. And you're going to see probably the two best teams in the league playing, very possibly. And you're going to see, the big stars come out, hopefully, and perform, like big stars, and we'll see what happens. It's a team game, but, it's not about one day. Think about what Patrick Mahomes did as a young kid growing up. The practices, the repetitions. Think about what Tom Brady went through, as a overlooked skinny white kid, at Michigan. And you have to be willing to do, Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady. Listen to him. He says, because you can't argue about his greatness. There's no discussion. You can't. No. I love how guys like Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, you can't argue about this guy. And Tom Brady, he says, you don't have to be great, but you have to be disciplined and you have to be consistent. You have to do what the other guys won't do. And in an odd way, my life, or the best parts of my life, are reflective of that. You know what I mean? Consistency and discipline. It's very interesting. We're both now in the podcast game, so to speak, right? And they say that the average podcaster doesn't make 5 episodes. Like there's some crazy number of people that podcast. Some crazy number, hundreds of thousands, not millions of people.
Millions.
Right. Million. But if you look at how many have made at least 5 podcasts, the number drops off precipitously. It's crazy. Like falls off a cliff. 100 podcasts, it's almost, it's very rare. So it's really an interesting thing. You got to be consistent. You have to be disciplined. If that's what you want to do, if you want to be a podcaster, you got to show up and you got to show out. You don't feel good, go fuck yourself. Your guy can't make it to the studio, go fuck yourself. Your car's not right and you don't want to drive to Miami, go fuck yourself. You have to show up. It doesn't matter how you feel. When people tell me, well, I don't feel, you don't feel, I don't feel. I want to lay in bed and watch TV. You know what I mean? But guess what? It doesn't matter how I feel. It's what I have to do, right? That's what leaders do. They show up, they show out, even when they don't want to, especially when they don't want to. It's easy to do things when you feel like it. I can't stand that word, feel. Well, I don't feel. Fear, what does it have to do with anything? Obligation, responsibility, stoicism, right? Discipline. That's how I look at life and these kind of things. Now, I think a guy like you has a great advantage over the average type of Joe. I feel like you had an advantage over me because you're a stud. As a physical specimen, you're a stud. You can perform, you can run, you can catch, you can hit, you can get hit, you can fight. You're a big boy, right? You make a big presence, right? And then you go into sports, and as you know, at each level, there's a much greater requirement of discipline, correct?
Of course.
You're going from high school, which, was probably grueling compared to the neighborhood football games. High school, but then you go from high school to college. You said like a whole different level, right? Now you got playbooks and shit. And, then you go to the pros, right? What? So you're used to having to show up, perform. And that to me is what business is. It's like showing up and performing. And as you climb in business, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million. Maybe you go public. I was fortunate to go public twice. Took 100 other people public over the years, according to the United States government, Wall Street Journal, all that kind of stuff. The bottom line is you had this understanding of showing up and being disciplined. But my guess is as you got to a certain point in the construction business and you're drinking, you're making real money, you strayed from that. You lost your discipline. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely I did.
And somehow you hit bottom. How'd you get it back? Tell us what happened. How'd you get it back?
So when I hit rock bottom as a custodian, when I had my spoiled milk moment, when somebody's trash and rotten meat got all over me, Ross, that was the moment that I realized to get my life back, I was going to have to do it all by myself. I was going to have to take accountability and ownership of my life and get it back. And what I did was I implemented Jack Del Rio's famous quote to our 2003 rookie draft class, on our rookie class in general, drafted and undrafted free agents. To be successful in life, be your own CEO. And that's the mentality I took. After the rock bottom moment, I realized if I was going to get things going again, it was going to have to be me, myself, and I. I couldn't. The NFL was great. They gave me a chance. They gave me my start. But they weren't going to be helping me out every 4 months, every 6 months. They shouldn't do that. I wouldn't have anybody going to help get me opportunity. It was going to get me anything. And once I took ownership of that, right, Ross? That's when I got my life back. So if you listen to this podcast, you have to take control of your own life. If you want something, you have to work for it. Nobody's going to hand anything to you. I tell everybody all the time, if you try to hand me something, I didn't earn it, I don't want it.
These are great. These are what I call $1 million nuggets. You understand? You're like a walking soundbite machine.
Appreciate
I love
it,
it.
man.
I love it now, but I do know something. You're just a guy.
Oh yeah.
I could say that because you're not in the studio next to me.
No, I'm just a guy, man.
You're
I'm
just
a guy.
fucking guy.
I'm
You're
a
a big
guy,
guy.
Ross, who's been through hell and back, And all I
Correct.
try to do is help others avoid, if possible, the type of failure. Not failure, because you can't avoid failure. People have to go through their stuff. But I help them to avoid the type of failure that I went through that was so catastrophic that I almost didn't get my life back.
But let's face it, self-doubt creeps in. We have
All day,
bad
every
days.
day,
We have bad
every day,
days, right? We
every
have bad
day,
days. I want
every
people
day.
to understand you're a human being.
Right.
You're
Of
not
course I have
you're not
bad
a
days.
robot. You're not a
No.
robot. So how do you perform? How do you remove those doubts and those deal with those rough spots? You know how it is. You don't get the job you wanted. Somebody, cancels on you.
Yep, absolutely.
Shit happens.
I learned this. If you're listening to this podcast and you're struggling or having a bad day or feeling down, move your horizons, which means when you have a challenge or an obstacle, move one action step at a time to get yourself back on track. Where most people fall off, Ross, when something like that, a bad day, people look at the entire bad day and their brain gets overwhelmed. It gets
Correct.
so much, and they shut down. So I tell people, look at things one action step at a time. If you have a moment, a bad day, take a moment, say, okay, what can I do? One action step to get myself back on track. Execute that. Once you've done that, then from there, it gives you momentum. And momentum is the key to fighting negativity, self-doubt, and bad days to move forward.
I love it. Action is a precedent to emotion. You can't think your way into good acting. You have to act your way into good thinking. And I love that. Action. You're all about action. Marcus, all about action. I love it. I love it. You're giving us great actionable items. And it's really, it's tremendous. So you're coaching now, personal,
Yes. Yep.
business owners, you're mentoring individuals.
Yep. Correct.
Tell us about your program. I want to hear.
So we have a coaching program where we work with people who are business owners, want to grow a business, want to become better leaders, want to be better speakers, want to grow a podcast. We have either a 6-month program or a 1-year program. We also have, it's called the Inner Game Community. We started on the school platform, SKOOL, Alex Hermosi's platform.
Amazing.
It's for individuals that want to collaborate with other high achievers to have a better life and move forward in business and in their personal life. So we coach people, we do one-on-ones, all types of individuals. If you want to ascend or go to the next level, our program is customized for you to help you ascend in your personal and or your professional life.
So you find school, Hormozi's platform, to be really helpful, correct?
Correct. That's great for collaboration and creating a community of like-minded people to charge forward.
Very additive, correct?
Correct.
I love it. And if you had to share with the audience the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs or business guys making, some of the biggest mistakes, share with us.
The biggest mistake that I really feel people make is they end up not listening to their trusted team. They think they know everything. They think they can do everything. The human mind is designed to do a lot of things, but it's not designed to do everything. And the minute you stop listening to others is the minute you are about to have your own huge demise. So most people I see, they struggle, right, Ross, with listening to people and taking feedback. A lot of leaders can give feedback, but most I've seen struggle at accepting feedback. And again, that's the law of receptivity from my good friend, the co-author of the Go Giver book, Bob Berg, who wrote the Go Giver book. Him and John David Mann are the co-authors. Number 5, the law of receptivity. Be open to feedback, apply it when necessary, and be ready to pivot at all times. And what did Charles Darwin say? It's not the strongest, it's not the smartest. It's the one that can adapt the quickest that will survive and thrive.
Correct. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. He was trying to tell us something, right?
Amen.
It's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. That Charles Darwin quote is so important. People have to understand. all the time I speak to guys and they're set in one particular thing. And I say, bro, you got to pivot. You got to be willing and able to pivot and move. It's like on the football field, bro. Right?
You
don't know what's
Saquon Barkley don't run touchdown straight line. He's cutting, he's pivoting, he's moving, he's jumping over people in the air backwards. It's not a straight line to the end zone. It's cut here, move there. I mean, they look at it and run like, how do you cut? How do you pivot? How do you change direction?
Football is like real life. It's like an army. You want to score, you want to win, you want to succeed, you want to accomplish a goal. You got to make moves. And some of those moves mean stepping back, going sideways. You know, how many times you see a guy runs 35 yards to make a 3-yard gain?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Look at Barry Sanders.
He was great. He was one of my all-time favorites. So, you know, we live in a digital world today. Talk about pivoting. Imagine me. When I grew up, I watched black and white TV till I was like 11 or 12. Cell phones, what? Computers, what? You know, connectivity, what? We had one phone, a rotary phone in my house, in my kitchen. You know what I mean? And you had to actually call people. Today, when I call someone, they're like, is everything okay? I said, what do you mean? They said, because you're calling me. Everybody's so used to texting. You know what I mean? And God forbid you call someone like, what's wrong? Mm-hmm. Like they're shocked. How are you, you're in this world, though. You're a young guy, right? So you grew up in this digital world. You're part of this, right? But you have to make moves, right? Different moves today. I mean, I was away from 14 up until this past January. Social media. I mean, you're talking about school, Hormosi's platform. What? I mean, social media has become so important. Tell us how you pivoted, how you adapting to what's happening now.
Well, we're very much going into like community, into different software, CRMs. We use people like Trello, Slack. We send out newsletters. We're very much into automation, digitizing, using that for communication, for our follow-ups, for our podcast, for, meeting people. And we have a good system. We brought in a virtual assistant. I have a director of sales, and we're constantly always adjusting, adapting, being innovative, using new software like schools have gone like to a Facebook group, because school, you got to pay for it, but it gives you more things to do, more access, more ways of connecting with people. And it's a lot more focused and centralized. So we're having a lot more success with our intergame community there than going to Facebook. And again, that's part of the program. We have a software to send out things, to people, like how to reach people and how to kind of connect with people and automation, all these things. So we're constantly evolving and being innovative in our approach, because we know, right, Ross, that's what really matters most to help you get where you want to go.
Right. And to get your message out. So people, they know who you are. That's why you're here today, right?
Correct.
We have to amplify your message, and we have to amplify my message. Amen. I can't help people that don't know me or I can't reach. It's very important. So this whole digital revolution, and now they're talking about AI changing the game 1,000%. And I believe that. I remember the last time I heard them talking about something like this was back on Wall Street in the early 90s. They talked about something called the internet. They said, bro, you don't understand what's coming, bro. Ross, you gotta tighten up, man. The internet's coming. .com, .org, .this, I bought like 10,000 different domains. I could be pitched. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Now let's talk about financial literacy, because, that's my game and my expertise. But I hear some things from you throughout the course of your experiences in business and life. I have a feeling you didn't really know all that much about 11, 13, and 7 before you went through all that shit. And when you signed your first contract in the NFL, you talked about buying a car and getting an apartment, and you probably bought all new clothes and all these good stuff. You probably had a beautiful watch, a couple of chains, all that good stuff. And, just like every guy I know goes through the same thing. Financial literacy. Tell us about your journey, learning how to, I know that you learned how to make money, learned how to get money. You also learned what it's like to lose money. What's going on with financial literacy as it relates to you in your life?
So I got very fortunate because we had a father that worked in the financial industry. So I knew about budgeting and as an income to expenses. And as a matter of fact, I did an article years ago in CNN Money, and I found from my rookie year, I had a budget in my notebook. I actually had like
Wow.
football notebook and practice and this, that, and I had a budget, and it had like my rent, my car payment, my bills, how much was coming in to what was going out. I would put money away into savings. So when I left the NFL, I had a good amount of money. I had a good amount of things ready to go. And so in reality, what happened to me is I just got into business and I trusted people. I got overextended and I lost everything. But again, growing up, with a dad who had a great background in economics and management and business, I had a good sense of how to kind of keep all that stuff going strong. And it was great because when I got to the NFL, I kept that going. But unfortunately, when I got into business and things went awry, that's when things went wrong.
You signed for things personally, I'm guessing, right? That's what happened.
Oh, yes, exactly. In the construction company, yeah, I personally
Right.
guaranteed loans and business lines and equipment lines and our bond. Oh, yeah, when all that stuff got called in, I went down right along with it.
Right. See, it's one of the things that I teach is the power of incorporation and limited liability. I would never have allowed that to happen in your life. That's one thing that I do. So we should collaborate on that down the road
Oh,
because
absolutely, we
I
should,
mean,
for sure.
so many young guys I know are learning how to get money. Now, you got to be aggressive to get money in this world, but
Oh, absolutely,
you
you do.
got to be defensive to keep it.
Amen.
And I can show people, I can teach people. It's all about structure. It's about discipline. But it's so important to understand that part of the game. Otherwise, you spend your whole life trying to get money, you never have any money.
That's right.
And I was in prison with guys that made millions of dollars. That some of the most successful drug dealers, arms dealers, gangsters, gamblers. And one thing they all had in common, they made fucking zillions of dollars, and 99% of them, by the time they got to prison, they were less than zero. And, I used to teach these courses in prison. I took, the wealth formula in the stock market. People used to say to me, if I only would have known you. Because if I know you if I'm in your life for 5 minutes, I'm sharing certain things with you, and it's just unallowable certain things. You know what I'm saying? It's like I went away for 10 years. I fought the government for 20 years, and I'm okay. If you understand.
I know
So
where you're coming from.
that's a message. So it's so important that just like your health, nothing's more important than your health, but next to your health.
Nothing.
And in today's world, you can't even take care of your health if you don't have some resources, if you know what I'm saying. So these are really important things, and it's the kind of thing that we can collaborate on because, it's one, I love what you're doing. I love your style, bro.
Thank you, sir.
I just love it. I actually can feel your evolution throughout the course of this podcast.
I appreciate that.
I could feel it. You're a feeling type of guy.
Right.
I sense that you're a passionate type guy.
For
I
sure.
feel it through, and I'm very empathetic that way. I feel stuff, and it's so important to have a proper team when you're going through life. It's not enough to learn how to get money. It's not enough to learn how to save money, structure, business ownership. We teach. If Elon Musk was aware of my course before he had this Tesla issue, he's fighting to get his $56 million pay package from a court in Delaware that has now decided that two other members of Tesla, they want to recall their monies. These are monies that they were granted by their board of directors, by their shareholders, approved. They achieved every milestone they set out to achieve. People think it's actually $55 billion the company's paying. No, he got it in stock because he created the stock from zero. Par value was 1,000th of a penny, and today it's worth $800 billion. All because of Elon Musk. The state of Delaware denied him his money, so he had to move the incorporation out. but he's still fighting now a federal judge in Chancery Court. And I've been teaching this for 20 plus years, just so you know. And people that know me know right away. You want to get if you're a founder, you're an executive, you're a major shareholder. You want to incorporate in the great state of Nevada, Wyoming, Alaska, a constitutional state. If you want to own 10 shares of something, go shop in Delaware. Things of that nature. So these things are very, very important. It's not enough to just know what an offensive lineman does. See, you were able to snap the ball, and that's why you were able to go play center. Imagine if nobody on the team did it. I mean, now what do you do?
We would lose.
You got to learn how to play. You got to understand the whole game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially as it pertains to you. So I was wondering about that because I would never have allowed you to sign for anything personally.
Well, we'll be talking after this podcast. That's for sure.
I'll never let that happen, bro. I would slap you around. Literally, because that's unacceptable.
That's good. I need that.
Now, this is a great question. I love here. Two things here. What advice would you give young athletes or business owners about managing their money wisely?
Number one, hire somebody that you trust to do it. That's going to explain to you what they're doing so you are not kept in the dark.
Correct. If I give you a fish, you don't go hungry that day. If I teach you how to fish,
you eat all day.
You'll never go hungry, bro. And that's my approach. Now, this is a good one because I'm sure it entails quite a bit. But if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, a life advice, financial advice, all of it, what would it be?
Learn how to shut the hell up and listen to people that you pay that are in your circle. I could have avoided bankruptcy by just listening to my senior estimator, Colin Snow. He tried to help me. He tried to save me. I didn't listen to him. I shunned him. I made him feel he was not worthy. And once that happened, he left the organization. And just like he predicted, 3 months later, I'm bankrupt, broke, and out of business. So I learned to shut up and listen to the people that I pay that are in my circle to help them, to have them guide me to where I need to go.
Did you ever make amends to Colin?
I did. I sure did. I told him about after how wrong I was and how right he was and how I wish I had listened to him when I had the chance.
Yep, I've had those conversations as well, just so you know. My ego was too big for me to listen,
I've been there.
And I get it, So I think I understand what drives you today. But what's your ultimate mission? You're still young. Mission, you're still young, bro.
The ultimate mission is to help people, inspire them to take accountability and to be the best version of themselves by learning from what I've gone through, good, bad, and ugly, or indifferent, so they can become the best of the best in whatever they want to do. It's about giving back to people that can learn from my mistakes so they can end up thriving and not just surviving.
I love it. If you had to put, you've said so many amazing things today, bro. I'm moved by so many different things. But if you had to pick a book, a quote, or a lesson, what's had the biggest impact on your life? A book, a quote, a lesson, something. Is there any one particular thing?
I would say Bob Berg's book, The Go-Giver series, The Law of Value. Give way more value than you take in payment. When you are giving maximum value to people all the time, whatever you charge people, it doesn't matter. As Bob said, people don't care about your quota. They care about how you can give them value to hit their quotas. When you learn to live by that and win the relationship, not the job, that's when life gets grand.
All right. So obviously there are people that are going to be listening to this, right? We're going to collaborate. We're going to release clips. People are going to listen to the podcast. There's a lot of magic going on here. There are people that are going to be going through a tough time, financially, emotionally, in business. Give me a message for them.
In life, in times of extreme darkness, focus on the light.
I love
Aristotle. Again, in times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. Aristotle. There's always a solution to any and every problem that is in your life. You just have to be able to trailblaze, turn the ignition within yourself, and get out of the darkness by having the light, which is the solution. Look through a problem, not just at a problem.
I love it. And one last piece of advice in this particular arena. They say he was the wisest man in the world on his deathbed. He said, if something can be resolved by time or by money, it's an issue, not a problem. Then he died. If something in your life that troubles you, from heart, whatever it is, can be resolved by time or by money, it's an issue. It's not a problem. It's very interesting. That opens up a whole door of things. Tell us, where can people connect with you? Learn more about your work.
To our app, we have the Marques Ogden app on a Apple or Android store. Go to the store, type in MarquesOgden. That'll pop right up. You can go to our website, www.marquesogden.com, or to shoot me an email, marcus@marquesogden.com. We love to connect with you.
Perfect. And we're gonna get back to that in a minute. So I'm gonna say a phrase to you, and you have to talk about whether it's more of the NFL locker room or the business world. Play a little game. All right. I've been through this, and it's pretty clever, and I love it. I insist on it. I owe this to Catalina McGee. Kat, I hope you hear this piece because you're amazing. Trust the process.
NFL locker room.
I love that. Wow. Next man up.
Oh, NFL locker room.
For sure, right? Watch your back.
Business world.
Yeah. It's all about the team.
NFL locker room.
Not even a contest. Stay in your lane.
Ooh, business world.
Interesting. Know your opponent.
Oh, NFL locker room.
You studied the guy across from you?
Every single day we were in film. Every day.
You would prepare for the D-line?
Every day.
Linebackers, the blitzes, yeah, you had to be aware of all that, right?
Everything. You spent more time in the film than you did on the field.
Yeah, I get that. It's interesting. So that means the teams that are really, great really understand who they're playing against today. And they just played the Super Bowl recently. They played a few years ago, right?
Yep, that's 2 years ago. That's
2 years ago.
That's right.
It's very interesting. It's going to be unbelievable. We're in a rebuild phase.
Business world.
Business world. Play to your strengths.
NFL locker room.
Really? Okay. As I'm going through those with you, it strikes me that either place, I still think the NFL locker room is the business world.
It's the same. I mean, they can go back and forth.
Well, listen, you're getting paid. You're in business. The NFL is a business, right? Not just for them, but for you.
Nothing's free.
I mean, it's just really a magnificent thing that people still look at the NFL as a sport.
No,
it's a business, guys. It makes some. I think Mahomes has got a contract. Get paid $500 million.
That's right.
I mean, that's no joke. He's not playing just for fun. Although my guess is he would play just for fun.
He loves it.
The great ones are like that, right?
Amen.
But like you say, they study film. You spend a lot of time in the weight room, right? You strong guy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I lift weights 6 days a week.
You can do like 20 push-ups?
Oh, yeah.
I'm playing. You bench, squat?
I'm closing on, I'm about 410 right now.
410. You've had lunches almost 400 pounds, so you better be able to friggin' put that up. I mean, it's just such a privilege to sit here with you. The guy you are today, right? The guy that I'm meeting today, if I met you 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you would be very different, correct?
Oh, very different.
But your demeanor, I don't think would be that different. Would it be different? Were you a little
No, I'm the same guy, but I was a lot more arrogant back at that time. Today, I'm much more humble, much more laid back, and I'm much more. Gratitude is the biggest crusher of ego.
Yeah, I at times when I'm dissatisfied with life or I feel some discontent or whatever, I find my gratitude. I search for I'm not naturally grateful. My drug of choice is more. I just want more action, more fun, more money, more whatever it is, more business. I achieve a goal, like, and then it lasts me for about 2 minutes, and then I'm like, thinking about the next thing, more. That's also a disease, and
Uh-huh.
I have to oftentimes search for my gratitude. You ever go through something like that?
Of course, yes. And I've learned how to do that now through just business and life and learn how to be very grateful for what I have. That's been very much a big part of my life going forward. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
Now you're a coach, a mentor, a
Mhm,
paid speaker, all these good things, right?
Yep.
If you had to break down your business, is it are you more on personal mentorship, business coaching,
I
public
was
speaking?
more on speaking and then business coaching and then corporate consulting. That's how kind of the order. People love us for our speaking, coaching them about how to grow their business, and then from there the corporate consulting, doing like workshops, half day events, then monthly virtual calls through Zoom or Teams is really what's growing our business right now at this time.
It's great stuff, bro. And you make your home in North Carolina.
That's right.
The NFL found your spot there, and you didn't stray too far,
Yep.
right? And you found your success there, which is really just so cool.
Yep.
What a great story, the Gene Upshur Trust. It's
Yep.
we got to make sure that message gets out and it's free and clear to everybody. Now, one more time, I want you to share with everybody. How do we find you?
Go to our website, www.marquesogden.com, or shoot me an email, marcus@marcusogden.com.
Now, I'm going to say something to you, and I want you to understand this. I found your name to be very confusing. See, to me, Marcus, and you've heard this your whole life, bro, Marcus.
Of course, yes.
And I'm like, who's Marques? It's like a French twist. Your mom and dad wanted to make you a little fancy, a fancy guy, Marquez, it's like a little bit of a French twist. Maybe
Yep.
there's some Cajun in there, Creole. I don't know what the right word is.
No, it's a little bit of a French twist.
But, when you say Marcus, you got to spell it out for everybody. So it's Marquess.
That's correct.
Marquez. Nelson kept saying it's Marques Ogden. I'm like, I think she spelled it wrong, Stephanie. It's Marquez. I mean, but that's the proper spelling, correct?
Yes, sir. Marques.
You got to spell it. Don't ever say Marques Ogden because people are going to say, who the hell is Marc? I went looking for you, I think, on Instagram and it kept coming up somebody else. And I say, this guy doesn't look like a football player. He had a neck
No,
like the
it's
size of
no,
my finger.
no, it's Marques.
All right. Ogden is like it sounds. Your brother was a famous.
Ogden. Yep.
So OG is part of your name, bro. You got to live up to that.
Let's go.
They used to call me OG in prison. I didn't even know what it meant for about 6 months. Everybody called me OG. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? So, bro, you're an original gangster. So, okay. I'll take that. And tell us more. Where else can we find you?
Again, we can find us on our app, the Marcus Marquesogden app. On your Apple phone or your Android phone, in your app store, just type in Marquesogden. It'll pop right up.
And what do I find when I hit on that app, when I click on that app?
All you just do is my name pops up with my an MO sign and poop, hit it, and you can go. It gets you to our website, podcast, exclusive content, pick you up content, free content, engaging stuff, all on the app.
Is the app free?
Yes, sure is.
Okay. And you get it at the App Store.
That's correct. On your Apple or your Android phone, go to your app store, type it in. It's completely free.
I love it. I want everybody to hear this. And your podcast is where we find your podcast. We find it on.
Get authentic with Marques Ogden. We are on every podcast platform: Spotify, Apple, iHeart, YouTube. We're on every
Everyone.
major podcast platform.
And Marques with a Ques.
Get
I
off the tip
love
with
that.
Marques Ogden. That's correct.
Now, before we say goodbye, I want you is there anything else in closing you'd like the audience to know? Anything you
Just,
would like to share?
just remember this. But as Bruce Lee said, so shall you think, so you shall become. Again, so shall you think, so shall you become. Your perception is your reality. Be the biggest fan of yourself. It will make all the difference in the world. Talk good about yourself, be kind to yourself, and you are courageous and you are good enough. And just live by that mentality. You'll be 100% fine.
What an impressive man you are. I just want to say this, and I mean this with all veracity and truth. Today has been a privilege for me and a real experience. And I just want to say thank you. I want to thank you for coming on board today. This was really, really a blessing for me.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me, my friend. Have a great rest of your day, brother.
You too, my man. So the privilege was mine. Take care. Have a great day, and I will speak to you soon.
See you soon, brother.